Hello everyone, welcome to my PHP tutorial 2. So today lesson I'm going to look at what are the PHP data type. So you may have already heard data type if you have learned JavaScript or maybe in C language, C sharp or Java language. So all these major languages use this concept data type. So even in the backend scripting language like PHP, it also uses data types. So what are the data types? So the data types is a classification of data into multiple categories according to its attribute. So you know that when you are dealing with the programming language, you may want to store and you may want to work with multiple attributes. So for example, you may work with numbers, or else you may work with characters or strings, or you may want to maintain a true false result or a boolean result. So these kind of attributes are come under different categories. So in PHP it has its own set of data types available. And one more thing we need to understand is PHP is a loosely typed language. So because of that, you don't need to tell for the language what is the data type that you are going to working forward. So it's automatically consider what is the data type of the attribute that you are going to work, and according to that, that attribute will be put it onto a one category. So that is something that you need to remember when it's come to PHP. So then we will look at what are the data types available in PHP language. So I have one page created before which I want to tell you like what are the data types. So these are the data types we can find out in PHP language. Those are string, integer, float or double, boolean, array and object. So string, with the term you will understand, it's looking at the characters, special characters, alphabetical characters. So all these or symbols are coming under string data type. Numbers are come under integers, but we need to make sure the integer only accept whole numbers. So the third one, float and double, are considered again numbers, but this time it will be accepting the decimal places numbers. So for example 100.99. And then the fourth one is a boolean, which is having true or false outcome. Only two outcome will be there. And the arrays are the set of multiple data that you can allocate into a variable. So that will be considered as a separate data type. Objects are again a concept which will be allowing you to create objects which include properties and behaviors. So when it's come to the next tutorials, I will go in detail about what is an object, arrays and rest of the other data types as well. So even though I told you these are the data types, there has to be a mechanism that we can find out what is the data type. For that, the PHP library has its own function implemented to get the output what is the data type. So the function that I'm using here is get data type. So if you navigate to the php.net site, as I told in my previous tutorials, this is the official site for the PHP developers. So in this site you can find out a function with the detail get type. So this function is coming from PHP 4 onwards, and it's maintained in all other major versions of PHP. So in general, what it does is it will be give you the variable type. and also under description it's point out how the syntax should be right for this get type function. So first you need to tell what's the function name and open close bracket, and this is something a general guideline that comes under function syntax. So when it's come to function I will explain how you write those, but at this moment try to understand this is a function and the function should have a function name, open bracket and a close bracket, and in middle you need to pass the variable or the value that you want to identify what is the data type. So it can be a mixed data type, so that's why it's saying mix. So you can send any types of data for this function. So this function will finally return us a value which is a string data type. So you can see I have added some values or sending values to this function, and then I'll try to print what I get from this function. So in my previous video I explained how we're going to print into the browser using the PHP keyword call echo. So then from the first line or the first get type function, line number 20, I am passing a string. How I know this is a string? It's because of it has the open quotes and the closing quote. So because of that I know it's a string. Not just looking at these words and telling this is a string. It is, so I'm looking at this double quote opening and closing. So if anything that comes within the opening and closing of the double quotes, we can consider that is a string data type. And when you are passing a number, so here also I understood this is not a string and it's a number because it doesn't have a double quote opening and closing. So that means if something not come under double quotes, it's probably a number or an integer data type. So in here I'm passing a decimal places number. So in this case I should get a result saying the data type is a float or a double. So there are two words coming with this data type, so it's basically used in different other languages with different names. So because of that PHP can have float or double, so one of that can be used. So sometimes if you are a person who already using C language or in Java language, so for the decimal places data type, so it will be providing a different name. It can be double or float. So in line number 26 I'm looking at the passing a string, but it's not exactly a string. So I am telling that is because it doesn't have a open and close quote, but I'm passing a characters. You can see I'm passing true. So if you don't put any open and close quote, and when you are passing the letters TRUE, that will consider as a boolean. So the opposite of this value is the false. So you can have this wording as well. So especially you need to understand if you are sending a boolean value, so it has to be something which is not wrapped by the open and close quote, and it should be only true and false. You can't pass any other characters. And line number 28 I'm passing, so I'm creating a variable to show you that it's come under array data type. So you will learn in later cases how you're going to implement the arrays, but line number 28 is in showing you how you creating a array. So it's basically a very simple thing that you have variable is converted to a array design. So then Once you convert this variable, that will be passing to this get type function. So the function will return telling me this is a array data type. On the last example, what you do is you are creating a class. So we know that when it's come to object implementation, objects are designed or implemented from a base class. So you should have a class. From that class you will be able to create multiple objects. So in this example I am creating a class called my class. From that class I am creating an object called my obj. So you can see line number 31 and 32, I'm creating a class, and using the new keyword I am creating an object from my class. Then I am passing my object to the get type to identify what is exactly the data type is, and that time I should get the data type of my obj is object data type. So I'll save this file and then I will run my SAMP server. Then I'll go to the code wrapper. So since we have an index file, it already loaded into the browser, but this is a different file, that is data